Hey, this is John Carlos, and I'm here with a look at the Star Wars Black Series action figure of General Grievous. And this one starts a new numbering system, D1, which I presume means Deluxe one. Now, there were two quote-unquote deluxe figures already released. They were Target exclusive figures, and they didn't have any standard numbering on the side of them. This feels less deluxe than the other deluxe figures, like the Gamorrean Guard, which was so much bigger and heavier, and this is just, well, it seems like a normal Star Wars action figure. It's just a little bit taller, but it's still like a 6-inch scale figure. It just has, you know, 4 lightsaber accessories and, you know, like 4 arms, but there's nothing really about this that makes it, in my opinion, worth the higher price point. I think it retails for $29.99. I don't see anything that you're paying an extra $10 for here. Heads up, there's a few gripes in this review. The sculpt on this is pretty good, and there's a lot of articulation. Like, I think something like 40 points of articulation. But the sculpt, parts of it leave something to be desired. Like, for example, his chest here. Not a lot of detail in there. I expected more from this area. And let's take this cloth piece of crap off, because I do not like soft goods, so let me get sidetracked by my usual rant. Look at the soft good cape here. This could have been sculpted plastic, and it would have hung so cool. It could have been a light plastic that laid on this. But instead we have these big stitch lines going across it. It looks terrible. It looks all funky, kind of bunched up around his shoulders. I don't like it. One fun thing, though, worth noting, I guess, is the inside of his cape does have some slots to put some lightsabers in there, the lightsaber hilts. So yay. Now here's a look at the figure. There should be more going on in the chest. I will say that the scuffing on it is pretty good, at least on the more cream-colored parts of him. The silver paint has been dolloped pretty heavily, I think, on the darker gray areas, but like his dirty kneecaps look pretty good. I like his chest pieces and the head piece. You know, his head was always a little small in the movie, and in like the old 3 3/4 inch line, and even in this line it is little, so it's kind of hard to get details in, but the little lines going around his mouth area look good. The eyeball paint for his eye area and the skin area around his eyes is pretty good. The scuffing is pretty good. The sculpt is alright. The tubing around his neck area is cool. Like the placement of the head to like the neck and collarbone area, I do dig quite a bit. And the articulation in there, like his head, there's a ball joint inside. I don't know if I can get it in this lighting, but it's a single ball joint in the neck that pivots, and all that stuff just sort of moves around with it. So that's neat. Another thing that's kind of neat, as in it's neat on one side but not on the other, is that his arms split up but also can close together. There's like a little slot there that this thing lines up with that little notch, and bam, clips into place. That's pretty cool. I did not expect that. I thought they were just gonna go with the open 4 arms thing. However, on this other side, I can't get the wider peg to fit into the slot properly. It kind of just lines up and then just stays and doesn't go in, so that's kind of disappointing. But the details within the arms themselves are pretty good. His little tiny half hands with his little fingers look good. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the articulation, and I'm happy that I can get him to stand just like that and keep his height. I remember the old Revenge of the Sith 3 3/4 inch figure being a real pain in the ass to get to stand. So as I kind of pivot the legs around at the hip, the double knee joint, and then his like secondary ankle above his main ankle, I'm sure things are gonna get weird. But yeah, here he is, kind of squatting. Yeah, there we go. Kind of actiony. It kind of works because in the movie he does have kind of squatted action poses. So yeah, let's put this aside for a moment and just kind of focus in on his accessories. He comes with 4 lightsabers. Here's a closer look at the hilts. There's 1. Here's another green one. There's 2. And then we have this one, which kind of reminds me of Mace's Episode 1 lightsaber. And lastly, we have this one right here. All of them can have the blade removed from the hilt. The hilt can fit inside the cloak like so. And then we also get his little blaster that gets used momentarily. Nice sculpt on the blaster, so that's pretty fun. I will admit, I'm impressed how well this figure can stand. I really thought there'd be more problems. I thought the ankle joints would be a little wobbly, but really, it can stand a lot better than I thought. And with the ball jointed and hinged shoulders, you can get the arms up in some pretty good positions. You also get, let me get in for a closer look here. You can get some pretty good hinge action at the elbow. You don't get any hinging at the wrist. That's a bit of a bummer. But the little ball joint right there in the shoulder does allow for a pretty good range of motion. Again, as you saw, a lot of good articulation points in the legs, even just like the ball joint at the bottom of the ankle here. Having a full ball jointed ankle really does help. And the fact that the ball joints, at least on mine, aren't loose is pretty cool. One thing worth noting about this figure is that the plastic for like the arms and legs, it's all pretty soft. I think this could have been a little bit more sturdy, but that's just me. Now, as I straighten the elbows out and rotate his arm the right way, not only do the biceps line up, but if you wanted to, you can line up the hands, because there's a little peg that fits into a little hole right there, and you can line up his hands too. And also right there in the main arm, there's another slit. So yeah, that's not bad. All things considered, not bad at all. It took a little finessing, but I finally did get the right bicep to clip in. So now I can line up the rest of the arms. It is nice that it's just a standard hinge, one single hinge right there at the elbow, but the whole elbow pull swivels. So that's how you can get that articulation joint to move around, is the whole thing swivels. Also, this part on this side swivels also, so there's lots of swivel action. Even though I did get this to eventually plug in, that finessing does still knock off some points for the difficulty to get it to finesse, but still, it is possible to eventually close, so that's nice. This figure, overall, I mean, it looks cool on the shelf, don't get me wrong, but if you're paying 29 bucks, I guess essentially what you're paying for is extra articulation? And I don't think that's really worth it. The cloth cape sucks. It's just 4 lightsabers and a lot of joints. Is that worth $29.99 to you? I don't know, but this guy sure does look cool. Thanks for watching, everybody. And if you want, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff. P.S. How much better would this figure be if it had a sculpted cape right here that was flowing and sculpted all cool looking? Come on.